Welcome, everybody, back to the Financial Advisors Workshop. This is where we talk about the industry, we interview great financial advisors, and also discuss industry issues. And we'll be looking forward to some of those episodes as well. Today, we are interviewing an advisor from Michigan, the great state of Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids. And he's a real professional in a number of key areas in how we run our business. And we look forward here today to talking to Jeff Nauta. Jeff, welcome to the Financial Advisors Workshop.
Thank you, Brian. Glad to be here.
Well, good. Well, we're big fans of Michigan. Being here in Chicago, that's where a lot of Midwesterners vacation is, up in the great state of Michigan, which has more lighthouses than any state on the East Coast, and is completely surrounded by water. So it's quite an interesting state you live in, Jeff.
And you know your Michigan lighthouses, and anybody in the Midwest knows that up north generally means somewhere in Michigan. To Michiganders, it all has different meanings how far north you go. But it's great in the summer. As we sit here in February, we're waiting for summer. So
it's a little cold, yeah. Well, good. Well, Jeff, so you've developed a great practice in the Grand Rapids area, which is an amazing city, by the way. And maybe you can begin by telling our listeners a little bit about how you got into this career, how you got into the business, and then we can fast forward to today. So where did you start out, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as we sit here today, maybe I'll start with where we're at, and then we'll do the big rewind here. So I'm a partner in our firm, Henrickson Auto Wealth Advisors. We're an RIA, and we've been an RIA for 16 years now, since 2006. And I joined my partner, Henrickson of Henrickson Nauta, in 2005. So a year before we became an RIA. We were at Lincoln Financial at the time.
Okay.
I was a year out of college. So you can kind of do the math there, but I was a year out of college. I joined my partner, really answered a help wanted ad. They were looking for someone to come in and essentially be an analyst type of role. I had taken the first level of the CFA. I had a little bit of experience there interning with a financial planning firm also here in town. And joined my partner. At the time, we had $50 million of assets under management. We've grown more than tenfold since that time. But that was really the early entree there. And again 16 years, 17 years later here, have stayed with the firm. We've grown the firm from, at that point, we had the two of us and a sales assistant to 11 to 12. We'll make our 12th hire here within the next few months. So that was my start in the business, and good and bad. I haven't had a lot of experience outside of the firm here, but the good is been with the firm here for 17 years now.
Nice. So you joined a senior advisor who was already in the business, and you guys added your name to the firm. And where is Henrickson today? Is he still with you?
He's still with us. So Doug will start transitioning, start slowing down here within a year. That's the plan, at least. So he'll be 70 in a year. And from an energy standpoint, and for the sake of his marriage, so he doesn't drive his wife nuts, I don't expect him to slow down much. So he's got a lot of energy flow. A lot of great relationships over time. We've taken, to the benefit of everyone, taken a lot of the heavy lifting off of his plate, so he can come in and do that relationship management piece of it. That's so important. And at this point, even myself, we've brought in a great team and built up a great team to where the advisors can do what's important, which is get in front of clients, do the actual planning, do some of the investment research as well. But at this point, he will. We always joke a little morbid, but yeah, at some point we'll have to push him out of here from behind the desk. But he's been a great leader of the firm and an asset, and so he's still here and doing great.
So Jeff, you're a CFP and a CFA, but now you have a staff of 12. Are they all employees or are they also advisors?
We have four advisors that are lead advisors. We have 2 associate advisors, and then the other, so that's kind of 6 client-facing, what I'll call front office staff, and then six of our staff are on the operations side, between what we call client service manager, pieces that pick up performance reporting and other reporting, keeping all of the connections updated for financial planning software, other administrative pieces as far as billing and trading and those pieces.
Okay. And then you say you got your start right out of college. Was that your intention to get in this business, or did it just come upon you, or when your background from the early days?
Yeah, so I went to college. I was always drawn to math. From a young age, I was a good math student. Went to college, realized even though I was a good math student, I wasn't calculus really didn't kind of ring the bells for me. Looked at what else you could do with math. Started thinking about an accounting degree, and realized accounting wasn't for me either. So I and kind of by kind of happenstance, kind of went into the finance field. So my major in undergrad was finance. Really enjoyed it, and enjoyed the fact that it could be numbers focused, but also have some human element to it. So I really kind of fell in love with it in college, and certainly by my senior year of college had decided, yes, I want to be a financial advisor. I want to work with people. I want to still have that numbers aspect, but enjoy the people element to it. Looking back, and not to pick on CPAs and accountants, I think looking back, you could have certainly have accomplished that being a CPA as well. But as you start to dive into accounting books, it doesn't seem as people focused. So so very, very happy though, obviously, with the choice.
That's a great mixture of skills, isn't it?
It is. Yep, absolutely. And I think the piece, working at a smaller firm as well, that's enjoyable and it keeps you on your toes, as every day is different, right? So I'm sure you see that as we come in, every client meeting is different. So even though you might be running a similar agenda, and we can talk about how we systematize our financial planning process over the course of a year with a client, but we might have the similar agenda to a client and that we meet with 2 different clients on the same day, but the conversations go wildly different, and we're able to kind of keep engaged and pick up all different kinds of intellectual curiosity there, as we explore what that means to a client. So,
right. Well, how do you work with a client? As you engage with a client, what is your firm process for that?
Yeah, so we from a very early time frame with Doug. So if I take Doug's experience, he started with Cigna, which became Lincoln Financial Advisors eventually. So very in the 80s, he was one of the first very early CFPs. Spent a lot of time digging into the financial planning piece. So if I fast or rewind 16, 17 years ago when I joined him, we were doing a lot of very intensive financial planning. The stuff that today is somewhat table stakes. I think but if I go back 20 years, there wasn't a lot of advisors really doing financial planning. Certainly as you talk to the wirehouses, you talk to the banks, that wasn't a focus. It was managing assets. So we as a new client joins us, we have a very similar process that hasn't it's changed, but it hasn't changed too much in the last 20 years. Is that we want to go through a financial plan first with a client, charge a fee for that financial plan, and that meeting process, depending on the complexity of the client, can be can be 3 to 4 meetings. To if it's a overly complex client, it might be 5 or 6 meetings. And we've that's something we wrestle with, is how do we do this efficiently, and how do we take some of the heavy lifting off the back of the client. But it's a process. there. So we were going to look at everything from cash flow planning to insurance, and even on insurance, we've partnered with property and casualty agency that will dig in deep on the property and casualty side. It's an area that we know enough to be dangerous. We're not experts. We look at the tax planning. That's something that we brought in house. We feel that's important to go through in-depth tax planning. So we part of that staff is a woman by the name of Heidi, who joined us 5 years ago. She has a master's in tax, years of experience in tax, and she prepares tax returns, but also gets in pretty deeply on tax planning strategies. We're looking at the estate plan. We're looking at the investments as well, obviously, as the engine that powers all of that. So the client will end that process, whether it's if we can get some good cadence in meetings, maybe it's a 6-week process, and we'll deliver a financial plan. Now, a lot of that has changed. What the actual delivery means, pushed a lot more towards online and having a living, breathing financial plan. We use e-money there, and we keep that very up to date with clients. But we still see some value to having the the list, if you will. Having the things that, hey, we need to look at, we need to triage, we need to do this first, and we need to look at this and look at that. Once the client transitions to that monitoring stage, and even that that initial implementation stage, we like to meet with the clients on a quarterly basis. Now, in the age of Zoom and Microsoft Teams, some of those meetings might not always be face to face, but certainly that first year, as much as we can see the client, we like to, and we'll start implementing. So we follow a pretty stringent financial planning calendar. The first quarter that we're sitting in here now, we're going through. We're making sure those financial planning projections are up to date. We're taking a look at last year. How did last year come out? Any big surprises from an expense standpoint? Any big surprises from any other assets? And along with that, for clients, with retirement planning in mind, we're taking a look at, are you on track for retirement? If you're already retired, how are we doing as far as any glide paths there? Any do we need to dial back withdrawals? Can you increase withdrawals? Are we taking it on the right accounts? So that's all part of the I'll call the end of the fourth quarter, but certainly the first quarter piece there. And moving into the second quarter, we take a look at their insurance. So again, a deep dive on every client's insurance. Again, from life insurance to disability to long-term care to health to property and casualty. Also taking a look at their education funding. If they are on track to fund any children or grandchildren's education. Third quarter, we go into estate planning. Fourth quarter is our deep dive on employee benefits and tax planning. Employee benefits tend to line up with open enrollment, and then end of the year tax planning. So that tends to be one of our busier times as well, as we prepare tax projections there. We use a Lista plan there. We made the change about a year ago. We were using the BNA tax planner. Still use a BNA tax planner for some of the more complex situations, but I've been very happy kind of with the change there. So a lot of what we've talked through, we've also done a good job of integrating software there, which makes it manageable and scalable.
So it sounds, Jeff, like you do almost like seasonal things. You'll do quarterly reviews, but then in certain quarters you do insurance, in certain quarters you do tax. Is that a regular routine for most of the family?
That's the regular routine. Now, again, things come up outside of the season, right? So there's always exceptions to the rule, but that gets everybody kind of thinking in the right frame there. So our associate advisors know, hey, as we're getting ready for a meeting, it's the first quarter, we better make sure that e-money is absolutely up to date, and because we're gonna be going through that in detail. As we go into the second quarter, hey, we know we need to take a look through current list of insurances and make sure if there's anything that needs to be addressed, that we're addressing it. So those are just some examples. Fourth quarter, and we better make sure as we're meeting with a client or having preparing a client review, and we're taking a look at the tax planning. And then each of those kind of fall down to different checklists and checkpoints there as well that make sure that things just aren't falling through the cracks. So there's a pretty exhaustive checklist we have for tax planning, and we taking a look at all different kinds of things there.
So do you do tax planning with all your clients, or is there like a certain threshold? Those over $1 million or $2 million have tax issues. The other ones don't as much.
But we on the tax planning piece, we do tax planning with all of our clients. Yeah. So we and we've frankly, that's one of the things we've struggled with is how to efficiently segment your clients. So we've tried in the past to segment our clients, and what we found, unfortunately, is our clients that we segment down to maybe a lower segment, we still end up doing everything for them, right? I think that's probably, we're probably not alone on that. The client that will say, hey, you don't have a lot of things going on tax wise. We kind of fall into the habit of, well, we don't know unless we take a look, and we better take a look because we're used to taking a look. So, so it's there certainly is a segment of our clients that have probably over-serviced, but I guess we've kind of taken the approach we'd rather over-service than under-service there. But again, that's where software is certainly over the years. Software within the financial planning and fintech area has improved so much that it's efficient at this point.
What programs do you use, Jeff?
So from a financial planning standpoint, we use eMoney. We use Holistic Plan from a tax planning standpoint, along with B&A Tax Planner. From a performance reporting standpoint, we use Black Diamond. We use Quanti from an investment standpoint, from a modeling standpoint. I'm sure I'm forgetting many programs there, but we CRM, we use Juncture. Use Juncture for a long time. We use Precise FP as far as a data gathering tool there. And again, I'm sure there's some software programs here or there that fill in some niches, but those are going to be the big ones.
Yeah. Okay. So you put that all together individually on your own. You have arrangements with them, not a platform, right? You have your own unique.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Great. Now you talked a little bit about executive planning before. Let's talk about that. Like, what types of unique things do you do in the executive planning area?
And so we've got a number of executives we work with, and ranging from what I'll call a quote unquote normal client came to us through a referral and happened to be an executive at XYZ company. A lot of times as you may get a referral to their buddy down the hall, and then their buddy down the hall. And then we do have a couple engagements where it's a more formal engagement where the actual company has engaged us to do financial planning for a select group of their top executives. So in particular, we have one publicly traded company we do that for, and a private company there. So with that, we're looking at everything from kind of the normal deep dive into the financial planning to a lot of concentrated stock position. So that, that can obviously come up. Within there, we've, looked at all of I'll say the normal stuff. So, anything we can do from a tax planning standpoint, maybe it involves charitable remainder trusts, maybe it involves exchange funds. So we've used exchange funds in the past, to a degree. And really kind of managing that executive's entire financial life. It certainly depends on the executive, but we just met with an executive from the company in particular that we're engaged with at the company level. Met with him on Monday, so just a couple days ago, and he came in and kind of gave us all his stuff, and it was the proverbial shoebox full of stuff, and said, I don't know what to do with any of this. So, we worked through, with his HR team to to clean up contributions even. Some of it's just blocking and tackling. He wasn't maxing out his 401k. Wasn't maxing out his HSA either. So a lot of that. But then we'll take it a step further at the next meeting and start to talk about, what does he do with excess cash? What does he do with restricted stock? How do we manage that from a tax standpoint? There's some unique pieces to his deferred comp plan that we can do some tax management around. So we'll dig in deep to those situations.
Nice. Okay, so then you talked about exchange funds. How do those work, and how do you use them with clients?
Yeah, so an exchange fund works by taking if you have a low basis stock, and you don't necessarily want to sell that stock for tax purposes, but you'd like to be diversified. So you take that fund and contribute that along with, just for talk purposes, we'll say 1,000 other investors who are all contributing separate stocks. And in return, you get the diversified basket. You get everyone's exposure there. The fund has to be held for 7 years. And there is to meet IRS regulations, there's usually an illiquid component to that. A lot of times it might be real estate for 20% of the fund. But it gives somebody who wants to diversify but doesn't want to pay the tax consequences and can afford the illiquidity, the 7-year illiquidity piece there, an option to be diversified. And it works, again, doesn't work in every situation. There's certainly some minimums that are in play there. Usually, $500,000 to $1 million minimum of contribution of stock, but it works very well for I'll say the executive who has $1 million in stock they got 20 years ago, really low basis. They're retiring from the company. They maybe don't feel as comfortable with having their finger on the pulse. Obviously, it makes sense to diversify that position, and they've built up other assets where this is really a long-term hold. This isn't something they're going to need in the next 7 years. So,
And you said they're getting the real estate out of part of it as well.
Yeah, so there's a component to the actual exchange fund, and there's only a few exchange funds in the industry that Goldman runs one, Eaton Vance runs one. So that there is a component to the exchange fund that has to be illiquid.
Okay. Interesting. Well, good. So how have the clients fared this year? I imagine single stock positions have been hurt pretty badly. Have you guys done any hedging, for example, and programs like that?
Yeah, so our portfolio management piece, is unique in that we are, over allocated compared to what I'll call a traditional advisor to alternative investments. So we spend a lot of time thinking about and investing in alternatives.
Okay.
And from that standpoint, if I take a 2020 as an example, and these are going to be ballpark type numbers, but our alternative allocation in 2020 was up somewhere low single digits, and again depends on the exact mix for the client. But that in and of itself obviously has been a natural hedge there. So we, on the public equity side of it, we are a dimensional fund advisor type of shop. So we believe that the markets are efficient. We're not able to pick and choose individual stocks or time the market, and that carries through really to the bond piece, and also actually carries through to the alternative side there, where we say, all right, we're not necessarily looking for alpha. We think the days of being able to provide alpha, maybe we're there, maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, but it's very tough now, and when we're looking at alternative investments, we're looking for investments that have a very logical risk premium story where we're taking risk, but that risk doesn't necessarily correlate to what's happening in the stock market. So, what that leads us to, potentially, things that are off the beaten path. So we're from that standpoint, we essentially cross off private equity. We think, well, private equity, it's equity. Even though there might be some mark to market, feel good factor there that, hey, if the market's down 35%, private equity is only going to mark their portfolio down 10 or 15% because that's what they think it's worth. But really, it's illiquid, and you're not going to have good diversification there. Same thing with hedge funds. We feel, certainly you can find hedge funds that have performed well. We think just as a block, we think it's tough to find that alpha. So what that leads us to are things like litigation finance, life settlements, core transportation assets. So we'll be looking at launching a fund this year, a commingled fund where we essentially invest in rail cars, intermodal containers, domestic maritime assets, helicopters. So those types of assets, there's a logical risk premium, there's a complexity premium. So there's a premium to being able to analyze those assets, and potentially there's a lack of capital in those asset classes. Mm-hmm. And a good example of a fund that we've allocated to over the years, last few years here, is a cannabis lending fund. So a fund that makes loans, senior secured loans to the cannabis industry. There's a very clear regulatory reason why they can earn a 12% return for what essentially is a commercial mortgage.
Right.
So that gives us our kind of feeling of, yes, there's a reason that we're earning these returns. It's not that we found some secret sauce or found a manager who is just brilliant. Now, there's some regulatory reasons there, and that's kind of the overriding factor we're looking at from alternatives. I mentioned commingled funds, so we've evolved from the alternative standpoint to realize a couple of things. One, from a minimum standpoint, we need to be able to pull client money together to meet minimums. And then from a kind of ease of operation standpoint, if a client is going to be investing in 5 different real estate partnerships, as an example, it's a heck of a lot easier to have them sign one subscription document there versus sign 5 different subscription documents. So we have at this point 3 separate funds that we run that are under the Henrickson Nauta name, if you will, limited partnerships. We have a real estate fund. We have two venture capital funds, and this year we'll launch what we'll call a real assets fund, which the main focus there will be transportation assets. So that's been a big differentiator too for our practice. So if we look at the returns last year, our real estate fund, because our focus even within real estate is on non-correlating asset classes, we invested in affordable housing in New Zealand, which comes with a government guarantee from the New Zealand government called the Kiwi Build program. As long as you build the house, and they will buy the house from you if you can't sell it. And these tend to be multi-unit developments, but in essence, it's New Zealand government credit backed returns, but we get 12 to 15%. So last year's a good example. The market's down, that fund is up. So nice. That gets clients, certainly gets clients talking. We don't do it necessarily for marketing. We do it to have good returns for our clients, but that's been certainly been a differentiator and been a big piece of our practice as we've grown.
And good results is good marketing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Our marketing, frankly, our marketing sucks. So our best marketing has been good results and good service. Yeah. Good.
So talking about that on growth, you've grown the business nice. What is your AUM up to now?
So as we sit today, we haven't done an update since the year end here, but knowing January has been kind to us in the markets here. So we're just south of $600 million.
Okay. So, how is it that you've grown then? It's been primarily by word of mouth. Is it systematic or is it just kind of random as they say something or?
Yeah, so I think our biggest and I want to say almost our only source of clients is referrals. So it's
Mhm.
going to be referrals from existing clients and referrals from professional partners. So whether it's an estate planning attorney, CPAs we work with. So even though we prepare taxes in house, if it's an overly complex situation, we're certainly moving it over to a CPA with more bench strength. And we get referrals there. So it is as we work with those professionals, they appreciate the quality of work and refer individuals over. So whether again, um, you know, CPAs, estate planning attorneys, on the divorce side, we do a decent amount of work and decent amount of referrals from divorce attorneys. So primarily tends to be women transitioning where maybe they did not manage the finances prior, and appreciate kind of that wraparound type of service we have. That they're going to have a team that they can rely on and one-stop shop there where we can look at
Good.
everything from taxes to investments.
Nice, nice. Well, good. So, what do you see for the future, Jeff? Your partner is going through maybe some changes. What do you see Henrikson Nauta look like over the next 10 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. We as we think through kind of growth from here, we don't necessarily aspire to be an aggregator or a big national firm. So I think they're certainly or be acquired by any of those. So we want to remain independent. Being here in Michigan, we are a little insulated, and I'm sure people around the country, there are pockets that feel that, but Michigan is in Western Michigan in particular is a pretty tight-knit community. We have clients across the United States, but majority of our clients come from 50 miles plus or minus of our office, and we're very happy being the go-to firm for our region for complex financial planning needs and investment management. As I go forward 10 years, we don't have any specific goals to hit any numbers. We want to continue to provide good service to our clients, continue to provide good results for our clients as well. And certainly, as we continue to grow the business, we'll hit some of those normal roadblocks or hiccups you hit as you grow a business. But I think we've moved beyond some of the early ones. As you transition from one or two people in the office, I think that's your first big transition, and then as you kind of hit 5 or 6 people, that's another big transition. But we're looking to grow the business. We're not hanging it up, but happy growing at kind of measured steps there to keep the service and quality all the same there. So
Excellent. Well, it sounds like the folks of Grand Rapids have got a great choice working with you and working with your firm, and some of your alternative work does sound very, very unique, and that's a certain advantage for your firm. Um, well, good. So if now over the next couple weeks, about 300 people or so usually will see this broadcast, and then over the next year, there's probably 1,000 people that will eventually listen in and hear what we had to say here today. So, considering you're in an auditorium of maybe 1,000 different people who are doing what we do, financial advisors, is there any message that you'd like to send everybody about success and about how to be in the business?
yeah, well, I think the biggest message I can send is your client's success is your success, and we've talked about this with other professionals, and we talk about it a lot internally here. Is we take the success of our clients very personally. So for a client to hand over their life savings to you is a very, very big deal. And this may sound a little self-serving for the profession, but I would put our profession in the top 3 things of what is most important to an individual. You have religion, you have family, and you have money. And sometimes it's not in that order. But generally, if one of those things are not working for you, you're going to have some unhappiness within your life, and it's going to affect a lot of areas of your life. So what we do as financial advisors is very, very important, of the utmost importance to the clients we help. So to take that job seriously, and to provide them with all the available options, provide them with the expertise that you provide them with, and to do a good job for your clients will bring them success, and then will ultimately bring you success. So I think, from a personal success standpoint, any successes we have come from our clients, and it has come from client referrals. So, we talked a little bit about marketing, talked about, professional referrals. We get by far the biggest block of business we have is from client referrals. And that all comes from, making sure that we are good stewards of their life savings that they have handed over to us.
Excellent. Wow. And you're really a great example of a fiduciary advisor. You live for your clients, you live for their outcomes. And I think that was the whole point of how they set up our industry. And sounds like you guys are doing a really great job. You have some very unique things, and it sounds like a great practice. So everybody should aspire to be as organized as your firm, and offer some of the great unique things that you do. So we appreciate your sharing some time with us today on the Financial Advisor Workshop, Jeff.
Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure, and thank you very much.
Yes. So thanks everybody else also for listening in, and we'll be back again shortly with another interview with another great advisor in our industry. Good example, just like Jeff Nauta, and how we serve clients and serve them well. Then we'll be back also with some industry updates that talk a little bit about things that we all should know. There's tons of magazines and a blizzard of information, but what are the key things that we need to know? So we're going to be talking about some of those things here in the future. But Jeff, thanks again for being with us, and let's make it a great day. And thanks for being with us today.
All right, great. Have a great day, Brian.
We'll leave it there.